Hello, good evening. Sorry I'm a little late, but I figure it's a little better than last week, which I skipped completely, so I apologize for missing last week. It was just a little too crazy hectic in the Airbnb world and getting a place ready for that, so I apologize. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day and looking forward to a great long weekend despite the weather. Don't look at the weather for the weekend. I'm going to do my normal today, so I'm going to answer your guys' questions and answers. If you do not ask any questions, I will just answer some that have come in throughout the week, and I will go over real estate updates as well as go over some happy news, okay? Again, hope you guys are all well, and I will dive into the first question. So the first question comes from Dave and Aurelia, and Dave says, if a home is listed for $600,000 and I offer $700,000 and I'm the only person offering, do they have to take it? If they don't have to take it, do they have to pull it off the market or raise the price to higher than I offered? Thank you, Dave, for asking. So no, they don't have to take it. So you said it was listed for 600, you offered 7. You could offer them $1 million, you could offer them 2 million, etc. They do not have to take it. They do not have to take the house down after, and they do not have the listing, and they don't have to change the price higher either to make it reflect what they want. If they want to keep it at 6 to attract attention and hope for a higher price than 700, they are welcome to do so. I know that frustrates people, and I know they don't get the whole aspect of it, but unfortunately they do not have to take the highest offer even if you are the only person offering. I offered on a property, I want to say maybe a month or two ago, and I was the only person offering. I think I offered like 50,000 less or something like that, and they signed back 450,000 more. Okay, so unfortunately you do not have it that way for you, so they can say no to you and they do not have to pull it off the market. But thank you for asking, and hope you have the best of luck with whatever property that you end up offering on, whether that one or another one. So what have people been doing since the pandemic, if I could speak properly, money-wise? So 58% of people polled in a recent study, so there was 2,000 people polled in the study in North America. So 58% said they've completely changed the way they think about money. Hi, Scotty, how are you? Changed the way they think about money. 56% said it's definitely altered their idea of what financial, success looks like. And I can't tell in that little bubble who it is, but anyways, thank you for coming on. Welcome. 48% increase the amount that they think they need to live on, like an emergency rainy day fund. So people upped it to, they think they need 6 months of emergency fund, which people did not have before COVID. And 44% said that they noticed that they spend money on things that's not needed before COVID, so they really noticed that. And over 20% said that they impulse buy. I'm an everything buyer, not just an impulse buyer. 41%, I'm sure Scotty can agree with that. 41% of people said that they have made purchases that they regret since the pandemic. So not everybody learned to save money during the pandemic. And 29% of those people said it was because of stress related to the pandemic why they bought. And although men are less likely to impulse spend, when they do impulse spend, they tend to spend more than $100 more than the women that are impulse spending. I do like to shop, Scotty. And yes, everybody does need a hobby, so I like my hobbies. And 29% of people say that they track their financial success basically from their credit score. So if their credit score is good, then they feel that they are doing well, financially. And just over 20% said that they've started a new financial goal since COVID. So they've said hey, I'm going to put $100 a month in this account or $600 a month or whatever since COVID. And the main things people have started doing since the pandemic that they did not do before, 20% started a new savings goal, 19% have practiced some sort of basically mental health, whether yoga or meditation, etc. 18% have started some kind of a side hustle, and 17% have started exercising daily. That is not myself. 12% have invested in a stock, and 12% have started an emergency fund, which is good. 11% applied for a new credit card, and 11% invested in cryptocurrency. Hello, how are you? You are on the other side of the lake. You're over in your treehouse fort / condo. and 3% consulted a financial planner since the pandemic. And what people said they want to do in the next 12 months, 39% said they do want to start that emergency fund that they don't have yet. 34% said they want to pay off a credit card. 29% said they want to save for a big vacation. I thought that would be higher, to be honest. And 24% want to save for retirement. And 15% want to pay off student loans. And 9% want to pay off their mortgage. So next question comes from Jim in Oro. So Jim in Oro said, I have a dilapidated above ground pool and I'm planning on selling next summer when I retire. Should I tear it down or try to repair it? Jim, thank you for asking. I would try to repair it because pools are so popular during COVID. I'm going to hope and pray that COVID is not next summer, but they have definitely become more popular. And even if there is no COVID, people have realized like their staycation, their backyard, they want, backyard oasis and so forth. And they've also realized that they might not be traveling as much, or they might not feel comfortable taking the kids to Canada's Wonderland, or they're saving money more. So having a pool makes more sense to them than having, say, a pass to Wonderland or taking the kids on a trip to Disney or something like that. So if you can get a new liner or whatever it is that you need to fix it, hopefully you can do that and just have that extra bonus. So if you're against 18 other homes for sale at that time and you have the pool and nobody else does, then that is a definite plus in your, let's say your laneway, your neck of the woods. So thank you, Jim, for asking. And the next thing is a realtor in Missouri. So basically she's taking homes to a whole new level. So her name's Linda Brown, and she started once a week. So she'd have this thing set up for homeless people, and they could come in and they could get, food, have a shower, they could do laundry, they could use a computer, they could play bingo or karaoke. But she found that then they go home, not home, but they go to their tents or they go to their park bench, etc. And she wanted to do more. So she started a program called Eden Village. Eden Village, and she started it in 2018, and she raised donations. So she got $4.75 million, and she bought a 4.2 acre parcel of land, and she built all these little tiny homes on it. So they were all like 400 square feet, and she charges the people $300 a month to live there, but most of them are on subsidy, so they get like $700 a month or whatever. The $300 a month includes their utilities, and they can stay there as long as they want. They come fully furnished, and with dishes and sheets and all that kind of stuff and towels. And there's also a 4,000 square foot community center, so they can go there, and there's medical in there and lots of other activities for them. So I thought that was cool. Hi, Margie, how are you? Hi, Allison, are you waving at me across the bay? That's who was in, the treetop fort that I mentioned is Allison. Okay, so next question is from Jack and Barry. So let's see what Jack asked. Jack says, I know you missed your live. Yes, I did. I know you missed your live last week and you posted it was to get your Airbnb ready. How much time do you have to put in to set up an Airbnb? Then how much time to maintain it? Thank you. Did I say Jack? It's Jake for asking. So there's no set time, to be honest. I normally go to Giant Tiger and I get all my sheets. I go to the dollar store and I get shampoo, soap, I get razors, etc. So they just, if they forget theirs, they have them there. And I go to Walmart and I get Keurig, etc. I forgot to say I get my towels at Giant Tiger as well. I go to Canadian Tire and get dishes, cutlery, and so forth. So there's no set time. It just kind of depends how much time it takes you to do that. It was more me decorating the house that takes time, because obviously you go to HomeSense, you go to StructTube, you go to wherever, and you get your side tables, you get your beds, you order things offline, you need mattresses, you need couches, etc. And I was feeling a bit of the crunch before Friday when guests were arriving. So anyways, that was why I didn't do my live last week. So there's no set time. And then once Airbnb starts, basically you don't really do anything unless you're doing the cleans in between the guests, which I don't do. I have somebody else do them. So I set them up as a co-host so they can see everything I can see. So they can see somebody checks out on Wednesday or somebody checks out on Friday, etc. They go in at 11, the new people come in at 4, and they do the clean in between. So all I have to do is message the person and give them the lockbox, etc., which is a pre-printed thing that I've saved into Airbnb. So I just press the button. So really, once I set it up, all I do is press a button to give them the lockbox and stuff, and I press a button to deposit it into my PayPal. So thank you for asking. what is the next question? Or not next question. Is the next thing before, I have one more thing before real estate. So how quick would you react? So there was a lady and she flipped her car 3 times in Florida and ended up in a river. And it wasn't a very deep river, but her car was half submersed and she, I guess in the flips or something, hit her head and was unconscious. And somebody ran over from another vehicle that saw it happen and they were holding her head above water. And somebody else called, paramedics and so forth. And so obviously if those people hadn't reacted that way and jumped in the water, she wouldn't have made it till the ambulance got there. So I just thought it was a happy ending because she's now fine and recovered. So I was just, it's a happier story than hearing a sad story. So I always like happy stories. I'm glad that there was some good Samaritans around there to help out. So this Sunday is the $2,500 giveaway. The first of every month, we give $2,500 to somebody in Simcoe County. So if you know of anybody you think is deserving, feel free to send us a video submission like this. Or if you are more shy, you can send us a written submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com. And just tell us who they are, who you are, and why you think they should win. We will never tell people's personal information. So if you tell us a happy story, we're not going to tell. If you tell us a sad story, we're not going to tell. But it is, oh, hi, Dougie. Thank you for the love. But it is this Sunday, okay? So Sunday at 9 a.m., tune into this spot, Cripps Realty, and I will surprise somebody live with $2,500 at 9 a.m. Again, any reason you can just say, hey, they're a really awesome neighbor, or they're a great sister, or they went through this tough time or whatever. There's no, it has to be this or that. As long as they're over 18 and they live in Simcoe County. They cannot live in Thunder Bay. They cannot live in Manitoba. Okay? Okay. So real estate. So maybe you have been approved for a mortgage, but your, amount you're approved for is not very hefty. Where can you buy a property? So some places that are more financially maybe fit for your pocketbook, they gave us a new list of places. So coming in at the cheapest was Sault Ste. Marie, and it's less than $100,000, the average sales price there. In Thunder Bay, there's homes on one street averaging $137,550. There's one street in Ottawa. I don't know if this is a bad neighborhood or not. It's called Industrial Park, and they are averaging $132,467 to be exact. In Chatham, which is kind of by Windsor-ish. I used to go to Wheels Inn there when I was a kid, which was like an amusement park kind of inside. It was $145,000 the average there, and there's a spot in Windsor on the west side. They average just over $200,000. There's a place called Onapeng Falls, never heard of it, but it's outside of Sudbury, and their average is just over $223,000. There is a place called Brockville. I also don't know where that is, so I apologize. They're just over $250,000 for an average price of a home. In Renfrew County, again, I don't know where that is. $250,000, no disrespect to Renfrew County. $250,000. Timmins, you can average a home there just over $250,000 as well. And Trenton, there's a spot there for $280,000. You love Chatham, Dougie. Is there lots of trains there? See, Dougie knows where Brockville is. He knows where all these places are. And there's a place outside of Sudbury called Copper Cliff. They average $286,000 for a sales price of a home. Dougie, do you know where Alfred is? Because I've never heard of that. They average $290,000 to buy a home in Alfred. And then on the South River, which I do know where that is, that's near Huntsville, they average $300,000. So if your budget's $300,000, and then Smiths Falls is also just over $300,000. So Dougie loves all the old buildings in Chatham. So there you go. If you like old buildings and historical buildings and Copper Cliff, he knows where they all are. He just knows. Dougie's your man, your tour guide of Ontario. And then if you have a bit more money, you could possibly go to Peterborough, Cayman, Kingston, London, Sarnia, and Welland. They're all under $400,000. And then if you have $400,000 on the dot, there's one spot in Toronto, and it's Jane and Finch. Some people might say that's awful. However, I remember when there was places in Jane and Finch for like $40,000 and then $60,000, and now they're $400,000. So that's pretty crazy too. So Jane and Finch, if you want to get into Toronto, you can at Jane and Finch for $400,000. The next part in Toronto to be the next like price up, it jumps to over $700,000, which is Regent Park. And then if you want a detached home in Toronto, you're going to be about 1.75. So you need a lot more coin if you want to do that. And now Allison said Mars and Saturn are pretty cheap too. Yeah, it might be expensive to get there though. Dougie doesn't know where Alfred is. Me either. We can Google it. So everybody knows what happened to the condos in Miami. So since then, insurance has gone up a lot on condos. So in BC, it's gone up 27% condo insurance. In Alberta, 16%, and in Ontario, 9%. And although the insurance has gone up for condos, residential insurance has actually gone down. So in BC, it came down 12% over last year. In Alberta, 6%, and in Ontario, oh my goodness, 1%. So why they're saying the insurance is coming down is because more people are working from home, and normally things happen when people are not home. So there's a fire. If they were home right away, they might have seen something happen on the stove, or water damage. If they were home, they might have heard the water in the basement, etc. So with people working from home more, there's less claims, etc. So that's why home insurance has gone down. However, they are saying that their replacement costs are going up, so the lumber, etc. So they're not saying it's gonna, go super low, because if something does happen, their replacement cost is higher now. Okay, so don't be super excited about cheaper insurance, because there'll still be some things that will go up. Have you guys ever heard of people renting out their pools? I know Scotty has, because he mentioned it to me one day. So kind of like Airbnb. So instead of like renting out this condo or whatever, you can rent out somebody's pool, just their backyard, and by the hour. So you want it for 1 hour, you want it for 5 hours, etc. And it's an app called Swimply, like simply but Swimply. And it started in 2018. Then by 2019 to 2020, it didn't go up much, like there wasn't really much going on. In 2020 to 2021, it went up 4,000%, how much their income was, which is crazy. So I guess a lot of people during COVID wanted to rent pools and were bored. They're in 50 states and Australia, and are now in Canada. I'm not sure what you're saying for real, Dougie, because it's like delayed when it tells me. Maybe you were shocked at the price, or maybe you're shocked at Jane and Finch. I don't know. So there's a new rule coming into effect January 2022 in Toronto, and it has to do with new builds. So if somebody is building a condo or apartment building, etc., 3 to 10%, I don't know how that works, the 3 to 10%. Obviously, the builders are going to pick 3% if they can, but 3 to 10% of the building has to be 30% cheaper than the rest of the building. So if you're renting for $2,100 on average, you have to times it by 0.7 and rent that other amount, whatever that is, $1,500 or $1,550, to other people, okay? And then the builders are saying, well, the price of lumber's up, the price of concrete's up, the price of steel is up, so we can't afford to do that. So then that $2,100 they're making higher, like $2,400 or $2,500. So that 3 to 10% that they have to make cheaper by 30% is offset a bit. So just be prepared that there will be higher rents. And then also, we're supposed to have the 400,000 people every year coming to Canada. So then we're going to have, more people needing housing, etc. So there will be more people looking for homes, etc. So just as an FYI. Oh, Dougie's shocked at pool rentals. Oh yeah, 4,000%. It's gone up for Swimply. So that's what the new rule in Toronto is going to be. And then in BC, they went to court, so they appealed, because there was people saying that the the foreign buyers tax. So they started with 15%, then they went up to 20%. So if you're a foreign buyer, you have to pay 20% on top of the purchase price. And people said that that was racist and discriminatory, etc. So they appealed it. It went to court. There was a 3-person judge panel, and it was unanimously voted that it is not racist, and their 20% for foreign buyers is staying in place, just as an FYI. We have it 15% here in Ontario. And so even though, people from China and Japan, etc., are often buying in Vancouver and so forth, Victoria, they are not necessarily buying in their, not to say their back door, but basically, in Japan. So a lot of people there want to be in the city, but they don't want to be in the rural. Whereas right now, we obviously have felt during COVID that people have been moving rurally and away from the city. And I guess in Japan, they're still all moving to the city. So they're saying that the older people, the older generation is dying off, and the younger generation is moving to the city. So nobody's living in the suburbs in Japan. So 13.6% of their 62.4 million homes are completely vacant. So the government is saying, hey, we'll give you cheap prices, we'll give you grants, we'll give you new zoning, we'll give you tax incentives if you buy these homes. And they're starting at 15,000 yen, which is 549 Canadian dollars. So you can buy a house for 549 Canadian dollars in Japan if you like. Okay, bye, Allison. Season 3 of Virgin River. Okay, enjoy. I don't even know what that is, but enjoy. You'll have to update me on what that is. So you can buy a house in Japan for $549. Okay, there is also a town west of Tokyo, and they're actually giving them away for free because they have so many of them. And they, the people that live there can't keep up with the taxes and stuff because they're an older generation, they're not working, etc. And then they can't keep up the maintenance to the house, and then eventually, homes are crumbling, etc., which is causing more damage and more cost to the government and the towns. So they're just saying if we give them for free, give these grants for people to help fix them up, that makes more sense for them. So they are doing that. And then the second largest island in Japan is also doing incentives. So they will give you incentives for childcare. They will give you home subsidies incentives. And if you commute and you commute a longer distance, the further you commute, the more money they will give you. So if you are curious about buying a house in Japan, you can do that. Back in the 50s, 53% of their population lived in the cities, and now 93% live there. And then another thing, real estate wise, is the boomer generation versus the millennials. So for the millennials, they're saying it's way too hard for them to buy a house. And for the boomers, they're like, okay, well, if we give the millennials more I can't even think, inventory, that's the word I was looking for. If we give the millennials more inventory, it'll bring the prices down, but then it'll bring the prices down for the boomers. So let's just say their $700,000 house is now worth $450,000, then they're like, there goes their retirement, right? So they're like, where's the balance between helping the millennials out, but not screwing over the boomers? So that is what, economists and politicians, etc., are trying to figure out, if there's something they should do to cool the hot market. And, yes, and then capital gains. Another thing that I've mentioned in the past is they're still trying and discussing putting capital gains on your primary residence, but most economists are saying that's only a band-aid fix and not a long-term fix to the problem and lack of inventory. So they still don't think that that's going to happen, but it's still in talks. So next question is from Madison in Newmarket. Madison said, do you think as people get their second shot and so forth, they will head back to Toronto and prices will drop? Thank you, Madison, for asking. I do think that there might be a slight dip, but many economists, so let's just say there was 10 economists, 2 would say there'd be a slight dip and 8 would say there wouldn't be. So I'm saying it's possible there could be, but I don't think it would be long. So basically it happened in 2017 when Kathleen Wynne did put that 15% tax for foreign buyers. So let's just say in the fall, the home was $400. In February of 2017, the house was $650. In the fall, it was $620. And then the next year was $670 again, then $720. So there was a tiny little dip, but it's not a big dip. It was just a tiny little dip. And then because we have such lack of inventory and then all the people coming to Canada, etc., I don't think that it'll stay low or like crash or anything like that. But I do think some people, we don't really know, right? Some people get used to working at home, or some people be used to like having dinners with their family and say, hey, I don't want to go back to that corporate world and I want to pursue something else, and I'm fine with the pay cut because now I live in a cheaper home, etc. So I don't think it'll be anything drastic, and if it is, it'll just be for a very short time, and then it'll continue to go up because of the lack of inventory. So thank you for asking. Next thing is, there was once a famous artist, and he had painted for like Muhammad Ali and Marvin Gaye, etc., and then ran into some rougher times, and he was then homeless. So there was this person going around and basically videotaping people that are homeless, like asking them who they are and how they became homeless, etc. And this guy said like, hey, I used to be this famous painter, blah, blah. And they Googled him. Turns out it was true. So they went to the store and they bought him oil paints, I guess. I don't even know what you call it. Oil paints and canvases. And he started painting. And then they set him up with a Shopify account. And when it went live, the first 24 hours, he made 51,000 and change US. And within 3 days, he had made over 100,000. So that was crazy for this homeless man, obviously, to then be making that kind of money. And he's now started a foundation named after his late mother. So he gives scholarships to people that cannot afford, not people, but kids who can't afford to go to school. So I like that happy story just from this man randomly, like finding out stories of homeless people and how they got there and so forth. So that was really neat. And oh, and by the way, people that have bought his paintings now have been like Oprah, Will Smith, Wiz Khalifa, Trey Songz, etc. Okay. So next question comes from Hannah and Craig in Barrie. So Hannah and Craig said, we're looking to purchase our first home. Our neighbors told us about a government incentive. Do you know anything about this? Thank you, Hannah and Craig, for asking. I do. I've had somebody in the past ask about it a couple times, but no worries. You probably didn't see that live. So the government will either give 5 or 10%, depending if you are buying a new build or a resale, somebody else has lived in it. The thing I don't like about it is that then they get to split what your home goes up. So I don't care for that, because let's just say you finish the basement, or you put in a pool, or you put in a fence, or you put a new countertop, or whatever. I don't think it's fair for them to split. Let's just say it goes up 300,000, they get 150 and they only gave you 20, right? So that sucks. The one thing that's good about it is if they give you 20 and you only make 10, you don't have to give them all 20 back. So that's nice, but obviously in real estate, we know that's not the case. So I personally wouldn't do it, and I would just save yourself if you can. However, I mean, it is at least kind of better than nothing. So if that's your only option, then you could absolutely do that, because we do know real estate will go up. But maybe if you could get out of that and pay them back as soon as you could, I would suggest that. So you don't have to wait until, sorry, my hair is messy. You don't have to wait until the end. So let's just say you stay in the house for 17 years. You don't have to wait until the 17 years to give them their half. If you can afford to give them the money back that they lent you in 3 years, you can do that. And then you don't have to worry about them getting all this money that they didn't really work for and didn't put their sweat equity into. So that's what I suggest if you have to take that route. Okay. Thank you, Hannah, for asking. So the next thing comes from most countries in the Olympics get multiple, gold medals and what have you throughout the Summer Olympics, etc. But somewhere that has never had a gold medal in the Summer Olympics is the Philippines. And we have 2 girls that work for us in the Philippines, so I'm sure they're super excited that a 30-year-old lady named Hidilyn, I might say that wrong, Diaz, just won a gold medal for weightlifting. And she beat out the former Chinese champ, and she lifted 280 pounds. Obviously, they do a bunch of lifts, but that was the one that I saw was 280 pounds. So crazy. I'm glad she's obviously super dedicated and so forth. And she's also does free training for people. So she could be in a living room or whatever. And she asks for donations because she's telling people, hey, this is how you should train, etc. And then she gives that money to people that can't afford food, shelter, etc. in the Philippines where she's from. So I liked that. The next question is from Sandra in Barrie. So Sandra said, I follow you on social media. You always seem to have a lot on the go. Do you ever feel you have too much on the go? And how do you know if you've reached your capacity? Thank you, Sandra, for asking. Sometimes I definitely have too much on the go, and I just need to take time. Hi, Tiff. How are you? Did you hear my thing about Hidilyn Diaz in the Philippines? Tiff works with us in the Philippines, so I don't know if she heard that part, but super pumped for them, for her country, for Hidilyn getting the gold. But so Sandra, sometimes I absolutely do take on too much, and I just need me time. So I need to go for a rollerblade with nobody around me and no thoughts, or I need to, I don't know, decompress somehow, watch. Usually I like watching funny things, etc. And I just try not to worry about it. I usually think, is this going to matter in 3 years? So for example, my car got a flat tire. Am I like super stressed about it? No. Then Scotty from our team and a friend of mine was driving me around. Then his, I forget what it was, alternator or something went. So some people will be like, oh, I'm bad luck or this or that, or bad things always happen to me. I'm like, I don't think that way. I think of the bigger picture, and I just obviously try and think positively, because the more you think about, the more you attract. So if I think that I'm having all these bad things happen to me, or I think that I always get the short end of the stick or whatever, I will continue to attract that from the universe like a magnet. So I want to only think good things as much as humanly possible. So yes, sometimes I take on too much, but I just deal with it one thing at a time and get through it and know that, I don't know, I know that I can get through it. So whatever I have to do, I will get through it. But thank you for asking. And one more thing, there is a fellow that I feel like we should have him in somewhere in Barrie, basically, at one of our drive-ins or drive-throughs, I should say. So there's this young man in Minnesota. He is 22, and he basically greets everybody every day on the PA system of where he works, which is McDonald's, and he sings to them, and he calls them superstar and boss and rock star and captain, etc. And there's like a lineup down the street just to hear basically his cheery voice. And he used to get bullied all the time. He's autistic, and he had a job before his current one, and they basically bullied him there as well, and we're always trying to get him to quit. But then he kind of found his niche here. The manager also has an autistic son, so she kind of knew how to deal with him and how he would excel. And so now he's doing amazingly there. And like I said, there's often lines all the way down the street. And he, what was I going to say? He works 6 days a week. He asked to work 7 days a week, but they're like, no, you should have a day off. But he's super cute and energetic and full of life. So I always love that. Yes, she did get the first ever gold, Tiffany, and she lifted 280 pounds, which I think I could lift like maybe 200, but maybe like this far off the ground just once. I definitely could not lift it above my head, and that's like 200 pounds, and that's maybe. I've never tried that. I'm just guessing. But that's amazing for her, and you guys. It's awesome. So happy for you, and I love that it's a female too. So if it was like a guy that got a gold medal, I would still be happy for you, but I'm even more happy that it's a female. So anyways, I hope you guys have a stunning weekend and great evening. Feel free again to nominate somebody for the $2,500 giveaway this Sunday, the 1st. Tune in at 9 a.m. to see who wins the giveaway. Hope you guys all stay safe and well. Hugs from my living room, and stay safe. Have a great one.